We are back with another episode of Middle-Aged Mamas. We have Dawn. Andrea's here. Camila's not here today. She had to take off from our last episode. But we have Andrea here to tell us all things medical, to pick her brain on allergies and vaccines because she's in the medical field. But before we get started, we want to start with a little bit of guilty pleasures. Because I got this dumb thing that I'm doing now and I feel so stupid. I'm on social media and now my algorithm is going to Target hauls. So I sit there for like hours watching people purchase and try on things from Target.
What? Oh my goodness. How did that happen?
I don't know, but it's like a woman with her bag and she's like, Tuesday Target haul, and she shows like her cute top and she'll try it on, and then her skirt or bag, and I'm like, oh, that's cute. And then I go to my Target app and look for the object. I'm like, oh, found it. And then I'll order it, and then I'll return it because I hate it. But it's like a constant cycle of me watching the dumb Target hauls.
You have to change that algorithm.
I know. I don't even know how it started. You guys haven't seen the Target hauls?
Not yet. Now I'm going to be cognizant of not clicking on one.
Yes.
Right.
They pop up daily. And it's random women, like usually from the Midwest, and they have these accents. And they're like trying on clothes with boots. Like I would never wear that, but I'm like totally invested on what they found at Target. Because I don't go to like the clothing section at Target. I'm more of the perimeter person. So it's like my new discovery that they have clothes at Target. Wow. So that's my ridiculous guilty pleasure. What do you have, Dawn?
Oh, I love a good long bath.
Oh.
And the reason I feel guilty about it is because I will be in there for hours, like totally ignoring my family.
But you have to tell her what temperature this bath is.
Oh,
it's not even hot.
It will start off hot.
Wow.
It starts off hot, but then the temperature will go down. It'll go down to a cool bath.
Wow.
But depending on how I'm feeling, I'll warm it up. But what you have to do, because I don't know if this is just my house, but you'll have to when you turn the water on to warm it up, it comes out cold.
Yeah.
So then I have to let some water out, and then wait for it to warm up, and then it gets hot. But it's my guilty pleasure, but it's also my self-care. Because I have the full-on spread. I have like that wooden like tray.
Oh, that goes across. You read a book?
Yes, I read a book. I have a candle. I do a facial.
A facial?
Wow.
I might have
impressive.
wine. Like one of my coworkers gave me this really cool mud facial.
Wow.
And she gave it to me with like this little silicone like spatula to put it on. Oh, it's lovely.
That's amazing.
It's and I'll be in there for hours.
Wow.
But why do you feel guilty? That just sounds like a
I feel
lovely
guilty
time.
because like kids will be at Mom, are you gonna make dinner?
We'll be having a meeting and she's like, I'm in the bath.
Right. So sometimes I may neglect some other duties around the house
To go catch a bath.
to take a bath.
But you always feel so much better afterwards.
I feel wonderful afterwards.
Now, are you the type of person that rinses off before you take a bath?
What?
Some people do that. Like,
That's me.
Yeah, they get the dirt off because they feel like they're sitting in dirty water. You just hop on in.
No, because I have all kind of good stuff in my water, Epsom salt and bubble bath. Yeah. I don't do that. I've heard of people who take a shower after they take a bath.
Oh, yeah, that too.
Yes, I don't do any of that.
Yeah, you're like, it's good. Soak in some water. Because back in the day, isn't that how everybody made? They soaked in the tub.
Yeah.
But it was tubs before showers,
right? Yeah.
I don't know. But I don't like wash myself until the end. So I'm not, like all the soap and all that stuff. Like I actually wash myself off when I'm about to get out.
Oh.
So
nothing rises to the top.
No, it's just it's a wonderful experience. I had a bath before I came over here.
Sounds like such a good ritual.
Yeah.
Like glowing over here.
It's because I was taking a nap. I took a nap for a couple hours, and then I set my alarm for about another 30 minutes, and I was going to take another nap, and I said, I could have a bath instead.
So funny.
So yes, I love a good bath.
So what about you? Do you have any guilty pleasures?
Oh my goodness. So, there's a few that I just think of. I love physical activity. So for me, if I get to go on a hike or just something a little off the grid,
Right.
where I don't have my phone.
Yeah.
I know it's a terrible thing to do. I'm sure my family's taken care of, but I will block them for a little while because
That's
I make
smart.
sure I know that she has
Yes.
contact with her dad or she's somewhere else.
Yes.
But I just need to not hear my name or have to answer to this phone all the time.
That is
So
quite
I think
smart.
that's the guilty part of it because
Yes.
for my work, like family, you're always on,
Mhm.
and everyone I have my work phone and my regular phone. So I
Right.
feel it just to shut down for
Yeah, you just
Yes.
stop it for a second.
yeah.
That's a really good
I
tip
like
because
that.
they are calling just for random stuff. Like, can I have that ice cream in the fridge? Or can I have that? Like, just random things every 30 minutes. And just to block that, shut that out. Hey, I'm doing this for a minute.
Yes.
Usually I just say, don't call me.
Right, and I love how I do love separating my work phone and my personal phone because when I leave work and I'm on vacation for 2 weeks,
Oh,
I can
nice.
just turn it off and I can. Some people don't like that separation; they'll just connect everything in one. But I can
no, I don't
completely
like that.
shut it off.
Oh,
Yes.
That to me
good.
is like a healthy boundary, and
Yeah.
it shouldn't be a guilty pleasure, but it is, right?
Yeah, because
Yeah.
people don't do that. And
Right.
good kudos to you for taking care of yourself in that manner.
And I stopped wearing my Apple Watch because then I would still see all the alerts.
I know,
Yeah.
like I'm sitting here now, like, and when I'm at work, I'm like, oh, my phone is put away, but if they need me, here's my Apple Watch. Although I did tell, like, the office, or I told my kids, this is how you reach me in case of an emergency. You call, the office. You don't call, I might not necessarily be able to answer, but of course, they still will, I answer. So that's
Right,
really good.
right.
Yes. Because in the 80s, there was none of this,
None.
and we turned out just fine.
Yes.
Right. We didn't have access to our parents in that way.
Yeah, 24
Right.
hours a day.
You just
Yeah.
had to say you were going to be where you're going to be.
Right.
To get picked up.
Yeah,
Right.
and be at the meeting spot.
Yeah.
Yeah, so true.
Mm.
So my kids are home for the summer. We just finished school last week. And they, of course, have come home with all this crazy jargon that I've been trying to figure out. So thankfully, we have Ava here, your daughter, to come and give us a rundown to all the middle-aged moms on all this new
The teen
vocab.
perspective.
It's no longer like, oh, he's jocking me. What did we say back in the day? I'm completely lost. So Ava's going to come and fill us in on some of the crazy old jargon.
Hello.
This is Ava. She's a teen. So Ava, I'm hearing Riz all the time. Like,
Oh my gosh.
tell us, what does
Like-
Riz mean?
It comes from the word charismatic.
Uh-huh.
Yes.
So it's basically if someone gets a lot of guys or girls, depending on the gender, it's that's Riz.
That's Riz.
So charismatic is so it's short for charismatic.
It's not that's technically the term, but nobody really knows that.
Okay. So when
Just
you're
if
trying,
someone gets a lot of guys or girls.
okay, so is it when you're trying to date someone and you're like, I'm gonna riz them? That's what I heard.
Yeah, you say Riz up. So if you're gonna date someone, I'm gonna Riz them up. It's really weird.
That's funny. Is that one that you use?
No.
No. Okay.
You're
Okay.
not risen anybody.
That's what the guys. That's what guys
Oh, the
do.
guys say.
Yeah.
The guys have riz.
They
What do
say
the
it
girls
more.
have? What do the girls have?
I mean, girls have Riz too, but it's more the guys that say it.
What do girls
okay.
say?
The same thing.
Oh.
Okay. Okay. So there's another one. This is a new one. My aura. My aura is you're
God.
messing with my aura. It's not like the crystally person, the hippie aura.
Yeah.
What
It's
is it when the
like-
kids are like, you're taking down my aura? What are they
So it's
talking about?
basically, it's basically someone's social status. So when you do something cool or when you do something embarrassing. Let's say you do something cool. You gain aura. It's so weird.
That sounds like a
Gain
video
aura.
game.
Yeah.
Really?
And then when you do something embarrassing, let's say you're walking around with your backpack open, or maybe you trip and fall in a public place, that's what you lose aura for.
Oh, and they just say I lost my aura. So
They say I lost aura, minus 200 aura or something.
Wow.
it's value to it.
Yeah, you can throw any number in front of it.
Where did that come from?
TikTok.
Oh,
Okay.
TikTok. Okay.
I should be watching more TikTok.
Yes.
Okay,
Please
now. No, right? Please don't. Okay, so what about this stupid one, skibbity? What is a skibbity?
Skibbity.
It comes.
Because I have 4 teenagers and they're like,
I have
what the skibbity?
I
What
don't
the
hear
Yeah, but yours
any
are
of this.
The other ones are older. The younger ones say like, what the skibbity?
What the Sigma?
Yeah, that too.
Yeah.
What is that?
What did you say?
Wait, Skibbity? It comes from this like popular like TV series, Skibbity Toilet.
Oh.
And people kind of picked it up and now it's like what the Skibbity or like Skibbity Riz. And it's like
Skibbity Riz?
Yeah.
You hear people say this regularly.
Oh, regularly, on the daily. Like people say it all the time at my school. Like it's something that gets thrown around in my class.
Yeah.
And it's something that gets thrown around like at lunch. Like you could be walking in the hallway and you'll hear someone yell, "What the Sigma?"
So it's like what the heck, but they say what the
Yes.
Sigma. But what does Sigma come from?
Sigma, it means like you're alpha. Like it means you're like alpha and you're like cool or
Oh,
something.
that's why my kids are like, "Are you alpha?" And I say, "No, I'm beta." They ask me that, "Are you alpha?" And I say, "No, I'm beta."
Do they laugh?
Yeah, well, I don't know what they're talking about, so I need to have a comeback, so I say something.
Oh my
Beta
goodness.
means like
Oh, so
lower.
beta is
Like
something.
alpha's on top, beta's the lowest.
So yeah, you are
Yeah.
alpha. You
So-
are alpha.
No, I'm going back to the grocery store. Remember back in the day, alpha beta, that was a
Alpha,
grocery
beta.
store. Yeah, so that's why I
Oh
say
my
that.
God.
Oh my goodness.
Oh, that's crazy. Okay, are there any other words that we need to know?
Like, do you hear anything else?
Okay, I already knew what
She's like,
cat
I'm not
was.
gonna
That
give
means
it
you
up.
No, I
lie.
think you're like lying, yeah.
What is it?
Cat. Like your
Cat.
cat. That's an old one. Do people still say
Ohio?
that? Oh, what's that?
Ohio basically just means like you're like you know how Ohio, like there's Ohio memes out there, and it's
I
like
haven't seen any Ohio memes.
and
What-
people
what's wrong
like
with
think
Ohio?
you're crazy. Like if people think you're crazy or you're doing something,
You're
you say
from
like
Ohio.
yeah, you're like down in Ohio. You don't say from, you say down in.
Down
in Ohio.
So they say down in Ohio, I do
Yeah.
this? Or
So, like-
what?
You gotta be fluent and like brain rot. You gotta be like
Yeah, that's another one. What is
all
brain
of
rot?
this. No, brain
Yeah.
rot just kind of summarizes it. Brain rot is like pretty much the basis.
Uh-huh.
Like skibbity, sigma, alpha, beta, that's all brain rot. It's just like it's brain rot.
It's like a bowl of brain rot.
What is brain rot? Is that a show?
The
also?
terms.
No, it's just a term for like stuff that's like stupid that you shouldn't like put your time into.
Oh.
And so when
So
you
can you
say-
say social media is brain rot?
Technically, yeah, but it's more for like the kids that are on social media. They say what's on social media is brain rot.
Oh.
Parents would say
It's like
social
they
media is
know.
brain rot, but
Kids
since
know.
kids are on social media, they wouldn't say social media is brain rot. They would say like the outrageous content, like what they see on these apps, is brain rot.
Okay.
Oh.
Nice. Nice lesson.
Yeah, that was a good lesson. You are welcome, middle-aged moms. Now you know what all these words are.
Yes.
Now, are there any words that are code for something else that we should know? Can you tell us?
Like what you mean?
Like what you mean.
Like what you mean?
Like no, like what do you mean?
No, she's
Oh.
what do you mean?
I feel like we're speaking
Like
two
that's not a code. That's what do you mean?
I feel like we're speaking two different languages. I don't know, like,
She's like, I'm not gonna give it up unless you ask for it.
Wow.
Is there
You
any
need to
words,
know for
like-
sure.
It's like this teen code.
yeah, a
Right.
teen code, like if we're gonna meet somewhere, like, is there a word that parents wouldn't understand?
Yeah, like over text, probably like
Mm.
PU means pull up.
Mm.
So like, let's say you could be
Oh.
like, let me pee you to the mall. That means let me pull up to the mall. Or
Okay.
like, let me pee up. Like, sorry, let me pee you. Like that means let me pull up. So if somebody texts like your kid, like let me pee you, that means let me pull up. Like they're gonna come over to the house.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Yeah,
And
I
then-
probably would have figured that one out.
I wouldn't. I still don't know the skibbity doo.
Right. I don't think I can use that in a sentence.
And then HMU, like that means hit me up.
Oh,
Makes sense.
That one makes sense too.
Okay. Hit me up.
Those are nice innocent ones you're sharing with us. We'll talk later.
Yes. Yes.
Part
It's
two.
more like, it's like abbreviations. It's like slang.
Right.
Mhm, mhm.
Because you guys don't use full sentences in a text, right?
Oh,
And isn't it true that voicemails, if you have a greeting like, hey, call me back, that's like cringe?
Oh, yes. Unless it's like a fake voicemail. That's funny.
Right.
Like, some obnoxious kids have fake voicemails, and everyone, like, gets annoyed at it, but it's funny.
Right, but if it's your voice saying, leave a message at the beep, then it's cringy.
Yes.
Is cringy still a thing?
Yes.
Like saying cringe?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I mean, like, it's not used as much as it was, but, like, that's cringy. Like, that's corny.
Oh,
Also,
you guys
people
say
still
corny?
say corny.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
I'm very corny.
Oh, okay, that was very
That was
helpful.
very cringe.
Okay, so we'll get into a quick little discussion regarding Ava, because I know that you've struggled with allergies since you were a child. Can you share some of your experience with that?
So, with my allergies, I'm allergic to, like, a lot of things. Like, eggs, all kinds of nuts, seafood. Like, I can't have fish or nothing. Sesame is a big one. So I've been able to eat pretty much anything, and if you didn't know, eggs in a lot of things. Like, I can't
so
have.
if it contains it even.
Yes.
And then how did you find that out?
So we found out when she was a baby, and we had gone out to brunch in Montrose, and I'll never forget. It was at the age where she can start having solid foods, and we can introduce something, like I think it was every 3 days or whatever it was, and so we had given her eggs as part of it. It's like, okay, she's old enough to try eggs. Well, she didn't look right. I took her out of the restaurant, and she started like just projectile vomiting in the back of my car. So we were in Montrose. I had to actually go to the TJ Maxx and get new clothes, and I thought something was wrong with her, so I brought her to the pediatrician. It was too early to show anything on the blood tests, and I just had a feeling she was allergic. They're like, no, it's fine. Just, maybe she had a virus. So then later on, we always noticed her skin was red. It was always itchy. And they're like, just give her some oatmeal baths and try Aveeno. Well, come to find out, I finally took her to an allergist. Or she was allergic to oatmeal. So the last thing was, she was at her daycare, and I got the call when I was at work. At that time, I worked 2 days a week, and I got the call from the daycare to say that they had to call 911 because she had eggs for the second time. It was like the worst call of my life. So I'll never forget. I worked in the operating room at the time, and so it's a very protected environment, and the business office manager came running down, and she was like just shouting down the hallway like my name. So then I get on the phone, and they called 911 for Ava. And, ironically, the ambulance driver was a friend of a friend. And so he knew us and knew our family.
Oh, wow.
Took her to the local emergency room. And then shortly after that, we had her worked up for all of these allergies.
Oh, wow.
And it came back, as she said, eggs, nuts, sesame, a lot. So then it turned into, I felt like that put such an extra stress on our family for the first few years while we figured it out. But, we've had a lot of allergy testing. She can have more now. She can have...
Yeah. We went to, this lady at the hospital who specializes in allergies and, do, medical health care and, going to the place. They would test me. I would eat the stuff that I was allergic to. And they would have people on standby.
Oh, yeah.
Sure. Yeah.
To be ready.
And I actually, I wouldn't say cured, but, some of my allergies, went away.
You've outgrown them.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, did they say that could happen, that you outgrow the allergy if it's so severe, even egg?
And some of them, but unfortunately the eggs were still there, higher than ever.
Right.
Peanuts, cashews. Ironically, though, she can have almonds now, walnuts, oatmeal.
Now, my son is also allergic to nuts, and because he has had experiences with having hives and being so uncomfortable, he can have almonds, but he will not touch them because of the fear. Do you experience that too, where you're just like, well, I'm just not gonna have any nuts? Or are you like, oh, I can have nuts now?
Honestly, I probably should be more scared about that. But I will, to be honest, I am a picky eater. On top of that, I have a lot of allergies, a lot. But I probably should be more considerate when I do eat like oats or walnuts, hazelnuts, etc., because they could be like cross-contaminated.
So when we do purchase it, for example,
I will eat them.
at Trader Joe's, right? We'll get almonds, but we'll get just the almonds in those little packages,
Right.
so that it's not mixed with anything else.
Yeah.
Right.
And then if we give her walnuts, same thing. We'll buy just plain walnuts, and they'll be in those little packages, so we know it's not kind of cross-contaminated. But it's tough. Like we just came from dinner before we came here, and the whole table's ordering everything, and some of the things that you wouldn't even think would have eggs in it do, or they'll mash up pine nuts and throw it in the mix. So
So you have to check always.
Mm-hmm.
So how, when you've grown up with it your whole life, are you just used to it, or is it like when you're out with friends, is it a pain to have to explain it?
Oh
How
yeah,
does
no,
that
for
work?
sure. So sorry. It's something that like you get used to,
Mm-hmm.
but like when you do have allergies, you know what you can and can't eat.
Mm-hmm.
So when I'm with my friends, like I don't necessarily have to explain it unless I'm at somebody's house. Like if we're out eating, then I and they ask me, "Oh, want to try to buy something?" I'll just be like, "Oh, sorry, no, thank you." Like I won't tell them I'm allergic because having allergies, like saying, "Oh, I'm allergic to something," minus aura.
Yeah, they're not cool now, right?
You're gonna lose points.
They're like,
Oh, this is annoying because like when you explain something, like when you explain, "Oh, I have allergies. Sorry, I'm allergic to that." Like you sound kind of nerdy. Like you have something.
Yeah, that's a thing.
But
But you also have to protect yourself, so you
it's just
say no,
embarrassing
thank you.
Yeah, it's just embarrassing for no reason.
Now, have you guys had scares where you've had to like use an EpiPen?
we have.
Oh, Roger, can I tell about that?
Sure.
So, in 2020,
Really?
in here's the main one though. But in 2020, I was actually on a Zoom meeting, and my dad had bought me breakfast. Like he bought this little cafe donut or whatever.
During the pandemic, when everything was virtual.
Yes.
I was on a Zoom meeting. He brought me a donut that had gotten cross-contaminated with nuts, and I ate it, and my throat started closing up.
You could feel it coming on.
Yeah,
I was at work.
Like I couldn't breathe. And so on the meat with my camera, he grabs the EpiPen and he sticks me with it, like on the meat.
Oh my goodness.
And
Well, you didn't get up and I can't breathe. You stayed in class.
Stays in class.
I stayed
How
in
many
class.
points did you lose?
That wasn't out then. Or it wasn't out then.
Probably like 2,000.
2,000.
You lived, it should be positive.
2,000 fake aura
Minus
points.
200 aura points. You can't breathe.
That is hysterical.
Yeah, no, anyway. He stabs me with the EpiPen on camera.
Was that the first time ever?
No, that was actually I don't remember. There was another time when I was a little bit younger.
But did you know he was coming with it, or he
Yes,
just all of a sudden?
did. I was
You weren't
signaling to him on the meat
Oh,
was so bad.
And
She was
immediately did it stop?
No, he had to stab me twice with it because he stabbed me with it the first time so hard the needle bent. It bent in my
Oh, and the medicine didn't come out.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
So then he got another one and stabbed you again?
Yes.
And then how long did it take to open up your airways?
When you have an EpiPen, it just injects adrenaline into you. It doesn't help with your throat.
Mhm.
It
I'm
it's
thinking
just-
everything just calms down.
Yeah, no, it's not
Uh.
it's pure adrenaline. That's and the adrenaline is what gets your throat to open up again because your brain's more focused on the chemical going through your body.
You're
Then
so smart.
you're not able to breathe.
Go ahead, Ava.
You remember that.
That's
Yeah.
awesome. Well, you're very educated on everything going on. Okay, so I hate to get in your business, but how is it going to work kissing a boy?
Oh, we've totally talked about
How
that.
does that work? Because what if he had
Yeah.
nuts and then you're like,
Did
do
you
kids
get
still
some
tongue
of
kiss?
this?
I don't know.
Yeah, or even some drinks who knows what they mix them with.
Yeah,
Well,
so
we've
how's that
Totally talked
going to
about
work?
this.
Okay, well, me personally, I've never kissed a guy before, so.
Okay.
Good job.
But
Yeah.
I feel like I'm gonna lose aura points if I ask, did you have nuts before this?
So you're just going to have your EpiPen in your pocket ready?
Imagine mid makeout session, you're asking someone like, did you have that stuff with this? How's that gonna work?
He should know about your allergies beforehand.
So he should know
Yeah.
beforehand.
Probably.
Yeah.
But still, boys, you know,
They don't care these days.
they might not remember in the moment. But so you always have your EpiPen close by.
Yes.
Okay.
Well, I should, but I don't. She gets on me about
I
it.
know. I'm like, do we have your EpiPen?
Do you lose aura points for having an EpiPen?
Yes. Oh my goodness.
Especially if your backpack is open
Oh.
and then you trip
Your EpiPen flies out.
and your everything falls out.
Dude, it's over for me if that happens.
Oh, that's so
my
funny.
goodness.
Well, thank you so much for
Thank
sitting and chatting with
you.
us. You are awesome. Wonderful, confident Ava.
Aww.
Thank
That was
you,
great.
honey.
That was great.
You're doing it.
She's amazing. I kind of feel like we put so much effort and energy into like the allergies and the awareness of it. And we always said you have to make good choices. We're not gonna
Yeah.
be with you the whole time.
Yeah, that's something that we
Yes.
push as well. Just not allergy related, but just making good choices because making the wrong one can sometimes be a problem.
Mm-hmm.
Can't go back.
But you're doing a
Right.
fantastic job. You're so
Right.
confident. Okay, so is she on social media? Because you always hear like social media is so awful for the kids, but I see a well-spoken, well put together
Mm-hmm.
little girl. Oh, not little
Cute.
girl,
I
young
know,
girl.
I do allow her to have social media. She, has access to it, but I restrict it on her phone. She has to ask for more time.
Oh, that's what we do.
Yeah. And she's like, how come I have to ask for more time? I said, well, because it makes you have to come to me and ask me.
Yeah, that's
And-
good.
and
Yeah, so here and there.
Yeah, here and there, exactly.
Mm.
And then, at a certain point, I just ask that she doesn't bring it upstairs into her room. I mean, there are times I'll let her do that, but I just prefer the electronics stay downstairs.
Yeah, well, it's
Yes.
working because you don't see that very often.
We used to do that. We would have our kids overnight. They'd have to bring their phones in our room.
Yeah.
Yeah, because otherwise they're up all night.
Mhm.
It affects their sleep.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Or we have them go
Absolutely.
off at a certain time where the phone just shuts down, so even if it's in their room, they can't
Oh.
necessarily. Yeah, most of the apps will close, and I think just the phone will allow it to call people on your plan.
Right.
That's another way to do it.
And then you always
Interesting.
really cognizant about posting because she'll show me some things that her friends post or some acquaintances. And I'll ask her, it's like, is that how you want to be remembered too?
Right.
Because like, once you put it out there, it's there forever.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Yeah, you have
so
to keep-
true.
Keep saying that.
Right. And so, I mean, it's not perfect, but we really try to.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but I like the balance, and she doesn't seem like a sheltered child. She has, the give and take. It's paying off. So kudos to you.
So hopefully it continues.
Okay, so you're in the medical field, and we always get questions from listeners about like HPV vaccine. What vaccines should we give our kids? When should we do it? HPV has always been a big one because that's one of the vaccines that I feel like you can wait on if your kid is not sexually active.
Mhm.
And then the only downside to that is needing an extra dosage. Is that correct?
So that is a good question. That's something we did choose to have for Ava.
Mm-hmm.
I think prior, I had to take a look at the most recent literature, but when we decided to get that for her, you can get it as early as age 9.
Yeah.
I had to say before I had her, I was like, vaccines can wait. I had a different view. But then after, and I have to say, the beginning of my career, I worked in peds critical care, neonatal, ICU. We weren't given a lot of vaccines then because those kids, it wasn't a priority for that stage in their care.
Right.
But then after I worked at an ambulatory, peds clinic, whereas population care management, you want to, help. It's a lot about preventative care.
Right.
So a lot of that is with vaccines.
Oh, so preventing things from coming on.
Yes. And so HPV, there were studies, and again, I don't have the literature or
Right.
anything to quote, but they promote it as early as age 9 because later on it does help with different forms of cancer.
Right.
So again, I don't have the stats, but then after listening to the presentation and actually working with the specialist, I just decided to choose that for her.
Right.
Just get that on the earlier side.
Right. So that she wouldn't have 3 dosage, because is it the same
Honestly, she's
whether you have 2 or 3, right?
That's a good question. She had, I believe, 2 doses.
Right.
So I think maybe when you get older
Then
and wait,
when she gets older, there'll be another one.
Yeah, so if you wait,
Yeah.
you have to have 3 because you didn't get started early.
maybe.
I know my daughter had 3, but we also started later. She definitely wasn't 9.
But why are people so like concerned about having it at an early age? Just, is it new? Is it because it's one of the newer vaccines? Because we don't trip out about like meningitis and
I don't think it's newer. I think it had a stigma to it.
But why? Because
so
it's sexually active one?
Yeah, exactly.
so.
So a lot of parents would come in like,
Oh.
my child doesn't need that. They're not sexually active. Well,
Mm-hmm.
we also see on the other side, how do we know that they're not, or exposed, or we don't know. So after a certain age, right, they are allowed to have more say about their health care,
Mm-hmm.
and even at age 11, the healthcare program we are a part of, they have access to their own records. You as the parent have minimal access unless they add you as a proxy, because they have their own,
Right. They have their rights.
They do.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah, I'm actually one of those ones that would have benefited from that because I had HPV in my 20s and it did turn into the precancerous cells.
Wow.
So I had to go through getting it burned off. It was like awful. It was
Oh wow.
It was not fun. I mean, thankfully I was under great care and she watched and all my PAPs have been normal since then. But had I had that vaccine, it probably because the commercial is true. They say it usually clears up on its own, but in some cases it could turn into that.
wow.
That's actually true. And it does clear up on its own for some people, but some people it doesn't. Your cells start changing and before you know it, you're getting all those cells removed and all that stuff. So
you wish you had access to the vaccine
yeah,
at your age.
that would have saved me from getting all that stuff done. But
Does your experience influence the way you talk to your kids about that?
I haven't shared that per se yet because it just hasn't come up.
Yeah.
But I definitely will when it's time. Because I said all that and then I still waited.
Right. Like you were calling me, asking me. I'm like,
because
I hear now that you have.
But I think that we're gonna go ahead and get started on that because I am pretty confident that we're not at that place yet. So I do feel like, and when they were younger, I spaced out their other vaccines because they try to give you so many at one time.
Right.
And you're like, okay, I don't mind coming back. I don't want my infant having a fever tonight. I'll get the other 2 later. But yeah, even meningitis, we got that one taken care of because I know that was back on the rise again. What else is coming back? Measles.
Oh my God, there's an outbreak of measles in Long Beach recently.
Yeah, so we have to stay up on
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah. But I tried to read more about that. There wasn't that much literature, but it was at a hotel in Long Beach. There was visitors, but then they didn't want to give the name of the hotel. And so,
of course.
Yeah. And after working in with certain specialists, they pointed out we don't have these because this is a country where people have access to adequate health care, right?
Right. And then are people, when you first have your kids, you take your baby every month, every whatever, then it becomes every year, and now we're still going every year. It's still every year, right? How has it changed since COVID when we couldn't go at all and it was like 2 years?
Right. So
Can you do 2 years?
When I worked in pediatrics, it just depends on what the age the child is at because certain ones are due and they help you with the schedule. And that we also had parents who didn't, again, like you said, didn't want to bombard their child with all of that. They, help you with an alternate schedule, if you will. But then, we were part of a different healthcare system when my daughter was a baby. And I remember having this conversation with the pediatrician we were with then. And she flat out said, "This isn't the office for you if you want to do that."
Really?
Yeah.
That annoys the nurses sometimes, right? Because they're like, "You're due for a vaccine," and you're like, "Oh, I'm gonna wait," and then they're kind of storm off.
Right. And I thought, so I sat with that for a minute, and I thought, well, you know what? At the time, I still worked in surgery, and this was the wife of one of the surgeons I worked with, and I completely trusted. They were like, their family were our caregivers, right? So I sat with it. And I thought, well, I had all of them. I'm fine. it's okay. And with all of her allergy and complications, I'm like, I don't need any more complications.
Right.
So like so I just decided that like, well, you're gonna get all of these on schedule because I don't need one more thing to deal with. And that sounds terrible, but
you're like, just get them done.
Right.
yeah, can't have measles on top of all of this.
I mean, but I also I don't like that it seems like sometimes you're bullied. Like that's how I would feel. And not even so much about vaccines. It was just my kids were very small.
Yeah.
My husband is very tall and has a very fast metabolism, and so my kids would have his genes, and they would be very thin.
Wow.
And so I had my first child at 30. You know, I wasn't some kid who didn't know anything. And I would go to the doctor and they would treat me like, you know, I'm some
teen mom,
Wow.
you know, uneducated teen mom, and kind of chastise me as to, oh, your son is, you know, underweight and this and that. And so that part, I don't like feeling as though I'm being treated like I'm harming my child.
Yeah.
You know, I think that's the part when there's a way to present information where you're still respecting the parent, you know, and so I think just bedside manner is important, because I think sometimes that can be intimidating for parents to feel like you're being bullied into doing something. Or just the way that information is shared is not always the most
pleasant.
kind.
Or those percentiles. You're like,
oh,
I remember hanging on every word of the percentiles, and then in the grand scheme of things, what does it even matter?
Absolutely.
They're in the 90th percentile or for this and that.
Right.
Like, okay, and
and what are we supposed to do with that?
Right.
Yeah.
And that's true. I'm you know, we've been fortunate to have wonderful caregivers, but then as also Ava changes or matures, like we've also changed our caregivers, especially with the allergy situation. The first two we went to, the bedside manner of the first one, it just wasn't for me. And I thought, well, if we're going to have a long-term relationship, this isn't going to work out. So then we subsequently found one more, and then she wasn't practicing, or she went part-time, and we found one more. So I feel like just know you have choices,
right?
And maybe that that provider may not be for you. So I kind of feel like I had my daughter in my 30s as well, and you're right. When we show up, and maybe they're just used to sharing that, or it doesn't come across like that to certain people. But then also where we're at, it's a different kind of message. And maybe that's just knowing now I have choices. I have choices. I can go somewhere else, or where can we meet in the middle, or I don't know. Yeah.
So what are you seeing now as trends for teens or kids in general, like illnesses or I know was it not whooping cough? What was RSV was a huge thing. Is that still very prevalent now?
So I right now I work in surgery, so I haven't seen too many children, but RSV was a huge, and it can be, especially during respiratory season. Yeah. And so hand washing, right? Hand washing, and also being mindful. Kids' respiratory illnesses are so common. Yeah. So just being in tune with your child, taking a look. Yeah. In the hospitals where it was I worked in critical care, just really promoting hand washing. On-time vaccines was huge, and also just monitoring. Yeah, so following the vaccine schedule pretty much, and even into their adolescence. Yeah. Okay. And then for Ava, promote the flu shot, because with her, she had asthma, and then she was more prone to certain respiratory illnesses with her allergies. It just felt like she was prone to it. So, I'm not sure if I would be so, on time with all of her flu shots, but because she had so many other complications, I thought, well, again, we don't need RSV, or she has asthma, she is more prone to that. And so we've been fine. She hasn't. So if you have the flu, then you're more prone to having respiratory problems if you have asthma. Because one of my kids has asthma, and we don't really push the flu shot because they don't ever get the flu. So I'm like,
why give them the flu if they never gotten the
Right.
flu?
We
That's
would
one of those
always
ones.
get the flu, like around the holidays, like before the holiday break,
Yes.
like
Yeah.
over Christmas break.
Yeah, they
we would
never get it.
always get the flu. Yeah, even with the flu shot.
Even we had.
See?
But it's more
That's what
mild.
I'm saying.
But it's
it's more mild. The
milder.
same with COVID. If you back in the
Yes,
day when.
That's the premise, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, so if you had the flu shot, is it twice a year or once a year?
Well, we just get it once, so it's
Okay.
available.
Because I feel like they're always talking about get your flu shot,
Mhm.
but it's during flu season.
Right.
Okay.
And I think when it comes out for us, I think it comes out August, September, definitely, by October, so you want it to last
Right.
through
Through
the flu season.
And do they change every year, the different shots?
They
Yeah,
change
because
them.
they have to,
With different strains.
yeah.
So, and
Mhm.
sometimes they say
Preventative maintenance,
right,
right?
yeah, preventative care. Sometimes it's like, I would have some parents like, oh, well, she got the flu, and how do they know this strain? I mean, I don't work for the vaccine company, so I'm
Right,
not really
right.
sure, but it's just something we chose for our child because she had all the complications we didn't want, anymore. But then again, you talked about the holiday season,
Mhm.
washing hands, the exposure to large groups of people.
Right.
In smaller areas and the frequency of that, we see a lot of rise in respiratory illnesses during that time.
So you being in the medical field, do you walk around, like, are you more of a mask wearer? Because you know what's lurking around, or have you ditched it?
I've ditched it.
Okay.
I mean, I feel like, so it's been several years out, and
Yeah.
I spend a lot of time outdoors anyway.
Right.
Of course, when I'm at work and the mandates are that I have to wear them,
Yeah.
and they'll have different criteria. So, and it changes, it waxes and wanes with
Yeah.
the trend and what's going on.
Yeah.
So, at one point, it's not mandatory at the moment. There's no regulatory, mandate stating I have to wear that at the
Right.
moment. So,
But I noticed because we're Kaiser members, they all have on masks, like behind the desk and everything. So I almost feel bad. Like, I don't want to, so I don't.
and they may have just changed that recently. And I think so that I get these, I guess, LA Department of Health, I get certain alerts, and so I believe, so every organization, right, follows the local mandates, and they have to
So what are they
adapt to.
Depending on.
Okay, so it's not necessarily where they want us to because they're wearing it. It's just that's what they have to do.
And some still wear it because they're exposed to so many people throughout the day.
Yeah, and sick people.
Yes, and
Yeah.
you never know when people are coming at you with what they
Yeah.
have, or
Yeah.
what
Right.
kind of hand hygiene or respiratory hygiene, or so because they may be coming in contact with so many different people throughout the day just to protect themselves.
Yeah.
And it's still there. People still getting.
Oh yeah, people are still getting it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But things have changed since the pandemic as far as, the hospitals being, or the appointments being available and things like that. Is it all back completely free flowing or still bottled up? Because I've noticed it's taking like a couple months still to get appointments.
Right. So that's a good question. During the pandemic, I did work in pediatrics, and there was times where it shut down, and we had to adapt. But then there's also video visits, telephone.
Oh yeah, they
telephone
kept up
visits.
with that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So knowing
Yeah.
that that's an option,
Yeah.
telehealth is huge.
Yeah, because if I don't need to go in and I just have a question, I always just ask for a phone or a telehealth appointment.
Yeah.
Saves me a trip to go.
Right. So convenient.
So I'm glad they kept up with that.
I'm glad too, and so that's always been an option. I remember the pandemic; it did create a lot of bottlenecks, like you said. So, for now, since I work in surgery, the pandemic created like a surgical backlog. So that probably the same
We're getting
premise
their
as some of
stuff
the
now.
appointments, primary care appointments.
Yeah.
Same thing. It's supply and demand, right?
Mhm.
Supply and demand of appointments.
Wow, that's so interesting. Okay, so what do you do for a lot of times people in the medical field or people taking care of others, what do you do for yourself as a middle-aged mom to keep you even and going?
So for me, something I started at the end of the pandemic, I've always liked physical activity. At one point in my life, I became a nurse when I was, in 1998, so I won't tell you how long that but when I worked in critical care, I also became a yoga instructor. So I went through a 200-hour yoga teacher training. And then,
so you're yogi.
Yes, and I've repeated that training. It's just something that's important for myself.
Oh, that's good. Now, how does that compare to Pilates? Like, all the middle-aged moms do Pilates. So should I go after the yoga or the Pilates? I need to get moving again.
So what's really interesting is I actually taught Pilates at one point too. That's amazing. That is fantastic. I love the different types of breathing. I love coordinating that with your movement. I think it really helps be mindful. But for yoga, the practice just extends off of your mat, right? So you can bring that, I feel like, into the healthcare field because you're always going to be dealing with
like your breath and things like that.
So bringing those concepts with you,
right? Because any like providers or people that give a lot of themselves, they're depleting themselves. So you have to bring it back to you.
Yes.
Oh, so that's good. The breath work and the
And then for me now, one thing I did start at the end of the end of 2020. I joined this gym, and when nothing was open, they were open outside. And so we would I work out 5 in the morning with this group of people, and to this day, like I work out with them at 5 in the morning. And so that consistency and what I've noticed over the years, it puts me in a good mindset to where it got me through a really difficult time in my life. And what happens is it puts me in this mindset to get through my day, but it also reminds me to tune everything out that I don't need. So I can start out doing that in the beginning of my day, and that helps. Throughout
to get
the day.
you through the
that is so good. I need to implement some of those things and get moving. And the endorphins again. Because I used to be a morning like walker or jogger or something, and now I'm just like a morning coffee drinker in the car.
That's important too.
Yeah, but the endorphins, I miss that. Yeah,
right,
so that's very encouraging. You're up at 5, okay.
Right, and it helps, and I love the way it makes you feel because. Like you said, the endorphins, but the resiliency, the consistency of it, it's that
and the discipline too.
That works for me.
Oh,
so,
that's awesome. Keep your dimples in. Your dimples, don't they make you just want to smile?
And then one thing I really love is walking in the evening. Like that's probably a non-negotiable thing for me.
When it's dark?
Sunset. I'll walk when it's dark, but
by yourself?
Mostly with another mom with my husband. I try to get my family to go. But I'll go by myself. I don't really mind that. It's kind of nice, and it just is a nice way to like end your day and let it all go.
That's awesome. Yeah, I've been doing some walking, but when it gets dark, I'm scared.
Yeah, right. When it gets
even
dark
though I got a big old dog with me, I'm like, what's that? What's that? But I see people all the time walking with their flashlights and stuff, but I'm more of a dusk person.
Yeah, when it's dark out, I can say like it just decreases. So then I'll have to be really creative and try to fit that in at lunch, like a short walk.
Yeah.
Even if it's a short walk, or when it gets dark out, go for a shorter walk. Or
you go brisk walks and get back. Beat your time. It was such a pleasure having you come on. And special guest Ava. Oh my goodness, this is going to be a hit. I can't wait to make the reels and clips of her.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you. Please come back again. We're going to end right there, guys. We will catch you on the next episode. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And hey, Canada. Bye.
Bye-bye.